This video is going to explain to you how to set up your document for your Bulldog news assignment. So you should have already opened up a Google Docs file, and now we have to set up our page so it looks like a newspaper page. The first thing I'm going to do is change my orientation of the page itself. So the default orientation is in portrait, which is the long way, but I'm going to go into File, Page Setup, and I'm going to change my orientation to landscape for my whole document. Do not set as default because that will make all of your future pages also landscape. I'm just going to change it here and just say OK. And that way it will only impact this document and not future documents. Now my document is kind of looks like it's laying down now, so that is in landscape mode. The next thing I'm going to do is make sure my font size is 12. I'm going to choose a fun font, and I can choose different fonts as I work through this project, but I'm going to start with Special Elite. I'm going to change my line spacing to 1.5 for this assignment. And then I'm going to set this up to look like a newspaper. So far on our alignments, we have used left aligned for our different documents. We have used center aligned for our titles. We haven't used right aligned yet, but for this assignment, we're going to use justify. And that's going to spread the words out so they fill up the page, and the left side and the right side of the page have a nice edge to them. So I'm going to click on justify. And then the final thing I want to do is put this into 3 columns. I'm going to do format, columns 3. Now, except for changing the orientation, it looks like nothing has changed in my document. I do notice now on my ruler, when I change it to columns, I can see here is column 1 in this white section, and then I have a little gray space between my column and my second column and my third column. If you don't see that ruler, just click on View and make sure that Show Ruler is turned on, and then you'll see your ruler and you can see your columns laid out. So that's my page setup. The next thing I'm going to do is give my paper a title. Now I'm not going to put my title here because I want my title to go across the entire page. So I'm actually going to go up into the header section. And normally we work in the body section of the paper and we don't even have to worry about this. But if I click up here at the very top a couple times, you'll see I'm now in the header section. So I'm actually going to set this up so this is only on the first page because I don't want this to be on other pages if my newspaper is longer than 1 page. So I'm going to check that box that says different first page. And I think my options are good. I'm going to leave those there for now. And then I'm going to put some things up here in the header section. I'm going to put a title and I'm going to put a date up here. So to put the title in my header, I'm going to use WordArt. But I can't do word art directly in a Google Docs. Instead, I have to go into Insert, Drawing, and I'm going to choose New. And then when I'm in drawing mode inside Docs, I can go to Actions, Word Art, and I'm going to call this Bulldog Weekly News. You can call it what you want. That's what I'm going to call mine. I'm going to move this to the very top. I'm going to change my font type to something else. Let's try Bungee Inline. What happens if I do that one? I would have to make this smaller. So I'm going to play with this so it fits inside my drawing here. Make it 7. There we go. And I'm going to change my colors, change my thickness. There we go. I like that one. So let's see what happens when I click on Save and Close. So there is my my drawing. I can click on it and then I can center it at the top of my page by selecting it. So now I need to add the date as well up here. So I'm going to put a couple spaces. I'm going to go to that Special Elite and I'm going to make this be a little bigger. And I'm going to put a date on there as well. I'm actually going to make it even be a little bit bigger. Oops, I didn't get all of it. I got to make sure I get all of it. There we go. Alrighty, so now my header is done. Now I'm ready to start writing my articles. So I don't want to write my articles in the header. I want to make sure that when I start typing, I don't see this first page header. So to get out of there, I just click down here in the body. And now I'm in the body of my paper. So you need to have at least 3 different articles for your newspaper. They need to each include a headline for that article. Possible articles could be like news items, weather, sports, fun facts, what it's like to begin 6th grade, made up news articles, but you're going to type 3 different news articles in your paper. And you also have to have at least one picture somewhere in your article. So I'm going to start my first article, and I'm going to make my heading be a little bit bigger again. No, I'm going to leave it 12. I said just make this 12. So I'm going to call this elves at work. And I'm going to bold that one though, since that's my title for my first article. And so I'm just going to start typing my first article here. So I typed my first article. My article is called Elves at Work. Again, you're making up your own article. And you may notice as you're typing that a couple things happen. First of all, it stays in the columns, which is really nice because we set that up at the beginning. And also you see, because we have this set up as justify for our alignment and not left or right or center, there's a really nice clean line on the left and a really nice clean line on the right as I work through my document. So I have to add 2 more articles to my paper, and then I have to add an image. Now I've typed my second article, and you can see that I decided to change the font. When I changed the font, it did space it out a little bit, but that's okay because I'm still at that 1.5. So it's okay to have your articles have different fonts. Don't change the fonts in the middle of an article. That wouldn't make sense. But it looks kind of nice to have each article maybe with a different font, so that way it is easier to read. So I have 2 of my articles. I have to write 1 more article, and then I have to add my image. So now I've added my third article, and I need to do a little more work. One thing I don't like about this is it's really jammed up here at the top. So to fix that, I'm going to go back into my header, and I'm going to press enter 1 time in the header. I'm not going to do that in the body, but I'm going to do that in the header and then click out of it. That's going to give me a little more space then between my header and my newspaper. So here are my 3 articles, 1, 2, 3. I did bold the title of each article, and I also put an extra space between them. I am going to do one other thing though. I'm going to remove these tabs. I'm not going to tab the beginning of these. I know I did to begin with, but I'm going to leave those like this because that's more like a newspaper. And now I have to figure out how to get a picture in here. The other thing I want to do is try to keep this all on one page, because if it goes just a little bit to the second page, I'm going to have a lot of blank space. In blank space, we don't want to have on a newspaper. We want to make sure the whole page is pretty much filled up. So I'm going to go here to the end of my paper, and I'm going to go to insert image, and I'm going to search the web because I want to find a fun snowflake. It's clip art to put on my page, on my document. Oh, I think I'm going to use that one. So I'm going to put that one on there. It's probably going to be really big. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it's really big. Went to the next page. So I'm going to make sure this is wrapped text. I'm going to make it smaller. And then I'm going to put this, I don't think I want to put it there at the bottom. It just looks like it's kind of like stuck there at the bottom. And we want to have this really balanced. So I'm going to see what happens if I stick this like right in the middle of here, especially since my second article is all about where is the snow. So that goes with that article. Now, unfortunately, once I do that, you can see that I have a little bit on the next page. And I don't want that. I want everything to be on either one page, or if I do go to 2 pages, I have to fill up the whole second page with stuff. So because I just have a little bit, I'm going to try to bring that back to this page. One thing that I can do with my document is I can modify my margins ever so slightly and see if that helps. So I'm going to go into File. I'm going to go to Page Setup again, and I'm going to change all of these to be 0.8. I'm going to see if that cleans this up a little bit. Again, I don't want to change this for my default. I just want to change it for my document. And I also want to make sure that I'm applying it to my whole document. And what this is going to do is just change the amount of white space around the edges of my document. So I'm going to say okay and see if that brings it all together. And it did. Unfortunately, now I have this little spot of white here. So I'm going to see if I can fix that. I'm going to go back into File, Page Setup, and I'm going to change these instead to 0.9. That might be kind of my sweet spot for mine. And yours might be a little different. Don't change this too much. Don't change this to be like zero. That's not going to work. Or 0.1. Really, the most you could do would be 0.5 on your margin. So you have a 1/2 inch of margin. I'm going to try 0.9. 0.9 looks better. I'm going to go up here and put one more space maybe at the top. Let's see what that looks like. I got to get rid of that. Oh, there we go. So now I have a little bit more room at the top. I have filled my page. I have 3 articles. I have my image. I have a title for each of my articles. I wrote the articles. I'm balanced. It's easy to read. And I can turn this in. So I hope you have fun creating your newspaper for this assignment.